security radio, security TV, securityguytv.com. I'm here with Rod Soto. Thank you very much, Rod, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
How is the conference so far?
The conference so far has been great. We met a lot of great people. We're able to share a lot of knowledge. I was actually presenting at Black Hat Arsenal, and we were able to share and talk to a lot of colleagues and prospects as well.
So why don't you tell us about your company?
Yeah, my company is Jask. Jask is what we call a feature SOC. What we're trying to do is to streamline security operations center operations, and we do that by using an approach that involves the use of machine learning techniques. So basically, what we try to do is help the operators, help the SOC operators, to put it in a certain way too. Streamline the fact when they detect and then they go to an investigation and they go into an incident. So what we're trying to basically to do is make it easier for them to detect, to investigate, to analyze, and to act on that information. And for that we have a series of machine learning techniques that we use that basically enhance the ability to detect threats. We have something called smart alerts, and smart alerts basically is a way for a product to when you're looking at such a large quantity of data, it's very difficult for a human to pick up and act. So basically, by us enabling this technology, we're able to dissect and grab these signals and put it together into something meaningful. So for example, there are certain conditions that happen with certain attacks. So if you see, we tell our technology, if you see the following signals, then tell me this is probably a phishing attack, for example. So then the analyst is presented with an entire workflow or where this came from, the date, the type of signal, like it's specifically in granular to what shows up on the network, instead of going manually and looking at all the logs from all different technologies.
So the workflow component is very important, and we look at SOC, security operations centers all around the globe, and the very important role under the CISO of a particular enterprise. Can you speak to the type of data that you're permitted to then share across the various SOCs? So for example, do you aggregate the data and share best practices or make best practice recommendations?
Yeah, correct. Actually, we did something what I think is pretty cool. We'd actually have a booklet in GitHub where we actually explain with detail what we call micro behaviors and the labels that we use to detect certain attacks. So we created this booklet that we're actually giving away at the booth, which is called the 10 cases for machine learning and cybersecurity. And not only we are explaining how what techniques are we using to detect it, but we're actually putting the data out there in GitHub, so you can go and check it and you can see that you can verify it yourself.
So that's wonderful. Is that public information or only for your clients?
No, it's actually public. You can go and check it out.
Great. So any CISO or any SOC center operations executive or analyst can then use this information?
Yeah, they can absolutely go and check it out, and also they can also check what we do in the open source area. We have some tools that are open source, which basically will give you an example. It's sort of like a small scale of the technology that we're building, but we made it open source in order to share and make it available for everybody, because that gives you some validity of what you're doing, and you want to try to go beyond the hype of just saying, I do AI, I do machine learning. So we're saying, okay, here's our code, here's a little bit of what we're doing in the open source, and then if you're interested on enterprise, large scale, come and talk to us. And we have the Trident product at Jask.
The Trident product, that's excellent. So in a way, it's sort of a teaser, or it's open source, and it allows them to really get a sense and the type of even ROI that they might attain if they use your wider product.
Right. We believe in sharing data with the community. Absolutely.
Okay, great. So in terms of your client base, do you solve the SOC workflow problem for smaller, medium, or larger companies? What is a typical client for you?
Yeah, we're cloud-based. company, and we relied on big data frameworks. So we were aiming at the enterprise. We're aiming at companies that are definitely having challenges when their security operation centers. We're aiming at companies that maybe they don't have enough personnel to look at dozens, hundreds of defense technologies. You have firewalls, different type of firewalls, IDS, you name it. So if we can put all this together in one single interface and look at it, and then use machine learning to help the analyst make decisions, obviously that will save a lot of time and will help the company obviously tackle and deal with attacks and threats.
But does your tool Trident also address threats outside the firewall, or is it so? Obviously, a SOC is responsible then for, how do you address a threat that you don't know, but at least help them track what could come through the firewall?
Yes. Well, in that perspective, when you use certain machine learning techniques, what you look mostly is what we call the multi-contextual events or micro behaviors. So even if you don't have a static signature like an antivirus or an IDS signature, our engine can look at it and says, this looks suspicious. This looks like might be an attack. So yes.
Could be. So that's excellent. So understanding the threat beyond the firewall, within the firewall. Let's switch over now to like insider fraud, insider threats. How do you address the conflict that the insider threat may actually be one of the employees who's using the workflow tool?
Well, the approach for insider threat is usually based on behavior. So in order to address the insider threats, depending on the data that we get from that will indicate or will provide a profile or a benchmark of user behavior, it can tell us, for example, oh, you had not accessed this computer before. You are accessing a file that all of a sudden you never accessed. Or for example, you downloaded this executable and all of a sudden you're looking at all these file shares that you never accessed before. So that right there gives us some data that we can address and approach this problem.
Excellent. And what keeps you awake at night? What do you worry about in terms of your clients, the broader cybersecurity landscape, or anything else?
For me, the latest use of destructive malware, ransomware, it really it worries me. It worries me because I believe that our infrastructure, our main industries may be targeted, and it would be a very serious scenario. That's what worries me the most. Something like what recently happened in the Ukraine, where most of the infrastructure and main industries were targeted. That really worries me that may happen to us.
Understood. And we, obviously we track those developments as well. There are many people who work day and night tirelessly to protect the financial services system, the gas, energy grid, as well as healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I think many of us now understand WannaCry is a perfect example of now life or death, or even literally not being able to have your lights to operate. So thank you so much for helping us today and helping us to understand the broader threat landscape, what your company does. It's a great service for SOCs, for the CISO, and anyone else who really wants to understand the threats both within and outside of an enterprise. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
So like I said, it's going to be, he's going to convert it to questions.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Oh,